Hi, I'm Dr. Vonda Wright, and this is Hot for Your Health. Join us for conversations on the bleeding edge of science, health, and culture as we bring you tech innovators, thought leaders, and the movers and shakers who are transforming science fiction into your new health reality. Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Vonda Wright, and this is a really special episode of Hot for Your Health. Not only because of the tremendous guest that I have today, whom I will introduce you to, but also because this is the 100th episode. I don't have enough fingers to show you 100. When most podcasts don't go past 10, I am proud of the fact that you have been with me for 100 episodes, and this is only the beginning of smart, savvy people, change makers, innovators, talking to you about what they're excited about. So today I have the incomparable Tamsen Fadal, who is an author, a speaker, and a journalist for the last 30 years. So you must have started when you were 2, obviously.
Oh, I love you for that. Thank you for starting that way.
Absolutely. So just made the most remarkable, brave, courageous pivot that few dare do. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the new direction you're going and how even Tamsen, I think I met you a year ago or even less than a year ago. And, you know, we were at New York at an event. And then afterwards, I didn't know any of these people, but I was invited to sit at a table for 4 and there were 8 of us.
I remember.
You remember. So we really got to know each other, and it's been such a blessing to watch what you've done in 1 year. So, you know, you've had this...
I got you.
Oh, thank you. You've had this marvelous 30-year journalistic career. You've won more than 10 Emmys, 12, 13, 14 Emmys for the work you've done. And you decided that in midlife, you had more to give, and you were going to pivot. And that takes strength and courage that few people have. Tell us about that.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You know, I think that as a journalist, there's always stories, right? There's a story that you find and you want to share. And this was one of those things that I didn't know was a story. Sorry, I've got a little noise out here, but bear with me. This was a story I didn't know that I had in me and I knew nothing about, and it was menopause. You know, I was on the air at the time. I was overtaken by symptoms that I didn't know were menopause symptoms. I went down a rabbit hole that I have now found out so many other women go down and trying to figure out what was wrong. And it led me to realize that there were so many women with so few answers. And I started going in search of those answers through the way of a documentary first and then a community.
Well, you know, some people would have stopped with just figuring out what was going on with your brain fog. I think I read somewhere that you were on the air and all of a sudden this brilliant black box of a brain that you're used to having, it just was fuzzy. For me, I could describe my instruments in the OR. I could say I need the thing that pinches. I could not remember that it was an Atson or a Coker. So that must be frightening when 5 million people are watching you.
Well, I feel like it'd be scarier in an OR because I don't even know that I've only been in one time and I was under. But, you know, oh, wow, I give it up to you for that. I feel like mine pales in comparison now, Vonda. But yeah, you know, it was one of those things where I went, oh, gosh, what's going on? And it had been happening. And I realized what was doing was stripping my confidence away. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have the word brain fog. Those weren't my words. I didn't know how to describe it, but I was like, gosh, I'm feeling like anxious on the air. And I've been on the air 30 years. Like I've been on the air longer than I hadn't been on the, you know what I mean? And so but that anxiety, when that takes you, and you know what I'm talking about, when you lose your confidence in something that you've built your life around in a lot of ways, you don't know what to do. And that's what I realized what was happening.
I think for me, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, there was a feeling of being out of control for the first time in a long time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually left the desk. We were live, so we were at a commercial break. And I said out loud, if I fall over, someone catch me. Kind of half joking. I work in a studio of all men. And I didn't really know what was going on, but I had this like hot heat everywhere, sweating, like you're going to faint, throw up. I didn't know what was going on. And my heart was racing. And that was what scared me the most. I know that for sure. Heat you can deal with, heart racing out of control and not being able to catch, get yourself together with something else. And one of my coworkers took me in the bathroom. I just laid out on the floor. And I had never not finished a newscast. And it wasn't I'm not one of those people that's like, I can't do it. It wasn't like that. He was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. And I don't get scared very often. And I think that's what really led me down that path of like trying to figure out what was happening with me. And then once I got a note in my patient portal after going to my doctor and then endocrinologist blood testing, I got the menopause any questions. That was it. That was my patient portal. And I went, what the? Yeah. And the only reason I remember it being so traumatic to me was I was with my now husband, then boyfriend at the airport waiting for a flight. And I was like, I'm in menopause. And I had no idea. Like I was like, I'm 49. I'm too young for menopause. Little did I know all that was wrong. Yeah. But I really remember it being an emotional thing too. It wasn't just oh yeah, okay, well now I know. It was emotional. It was a thing. It was a mindset shift. Mm-hmm. And then I got out there just talking one person after another, then sharing on social media. And you know what it's like when you start to share on social media and people hear themselves in the story, communities are formed. And that's really what happened. And then I just couldn't stop sharing their stories. And I think that's where we got to where you met me a year ago.
That's right. Well, I feel like storytelling that is so empathetic and so inclusive changes women's lives, because if we thought we were the only one, we would stay in that, I don't know, drain circling mindset. Yeah. The fact that every single person born with ovaries has an experience, whether it's an easy experience or devastating, we all go through it. But so you went down the rabbit hole, you're a journalist, you're finding it all, you're reading it all, you're talking to everybody. And now you've put it together in a girlfriend-vetted, girlfriend-friendly manual on how to menopause. It's like you're going to save a generation of millennials, probably, right? They're 43, 44 right now. They're coming into our perimenopausal space. You're going to save them. Tell us. Yes, we are. We are a mighty group together, aren't we? But how do you menopause? Tell us about how you've put it together in your book that's coming out, I think, in March.
Yeah. You it's funny. I was trying to figure this out. Books take a long time. And when I had first started on this journey and had thought like, oh gosh, this is, I'm working on a documentary. There's got to be a book to tell more, because the documentaries are always shorter. I realized with the book that once I left the doctor's office in the book, right, in the first few chapters, there was a lot more left, right? There was a lot more that I needed to talk about. And I think that's where I got to kind of the how to menopause, because I realized it wasn't just there. It extended to the bedroom and the boardroom and beyond, and the brain and the bones. And, it just kind of went everywhere. And that was why I felt such a need to share expert messages. And that's why the book says first, expert driven, second, girlfriend approved, because it was really important for me. What I've known, I don't have any expertise in anything. I do understand how to interview people and find amazing people and list their message. And so I do know how to do that. And so it's really important to me that experts come first in this book. And there's so many, including yourself, who was interviewed for the book, that I felt like, wow, when I would come across somebody, or I would hear from them, or I'd see them on stage, or I'd listen to you speak, you taught me I have frozen shoulder, like why I can't move my arm. And I think once I realized there were all these people that a lot of people didn't have access to, it was necessary for me to share that. And what I've done, and I feel like putting it all together felt good for me, just in terms of actionable. So somebody could say, hey, I'm having a problem here. This is where I go to in this chapter. And the other part of the book, which I can speak to, is more the lifestyle aspect. Because I think during this time, menopause isn't just the physical, it's the mental, it's the emotional, it's the, what do I do in my closet now because I don't feel like things fit? how do I date if I'm, 45 and newly single? What do I do at work when I feel like overcome? So I just felt like, wow, this is a whole new how-to stage of our lives of like how to do this. And we talked about how to adult, but I don't think anyone ever taught us how to menopause. And that was really what I wanted all of experts like yourself to help do.
So by the end of the book, how will women feel? How will they be prepared?
I hope they're going to feel stronger. I hope they're going to feel confident, sexier. I hope they feel bolder. And because I think that those are the words that we associate with this time in life and with midlife, with menopause, with, it's just kind of adulthood in general. And I think it was really important for me to have a happy ending in the book because I don't think that this is, look, it didn't start, that's chapter 7, but, this doesn't start with, it's not like this princess fairy tale that we all want to have, right? There are a lot of hard things to life. And I think that was really, really important that we get through those things and we still feel good on the other side of it. I think the media, and I, am a part of the media, has done a disservice to women at this time in life. I think we see not people that always represent us in the media. I certainly think that I see people that feel frail and unhappy and just getting by. And that's not what I see when I look around. That's not what I see when I see menopausal women. It's not what I see when I go to a conference or I walk down the street and someone stops and says like, hey, I'm in menopause too, which, I think is really cool. The narrative is shifting, but I think it was really important for women to feel sexy and strong again. And, and if they'd never had before, to feel like it now.
I think women sometimes forget that they've always done hard things. I say that to them. I'm like, this is a hard thing. You've always done hard things. And this is just another thing that you're going to figure out, because I don't know how you feel I know how you feel about this time of life, but I feel, and I'm so sorry it took me this many years to feel like, I was never not confident. I'm a surgeon, for God's sake, but
you better be.
Yeah, I'm really confident to a flaw, but it's a different kind of thing, right? I am so authentic now. Tamsen, you and I both show up on social media in our bathrobes. Some days I comb my hair like today. Some days, listen, people, I'm being authentic. And that comes from being so just sure, right? The other word I like to use is ageless. Like, I don't know. I'm 57. I don't know what that's supposed to feel like. I don't know. I
don't either.
Right? And then I love adding the word indefinable, because don't you tell me how I'm wagging my finger for those of you who are just, don't you tell me how I'm supposed to be, right? I'll tell you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I get, what I think you're describing, which I like you said that. I wish that I had felt this way too before. Like, I wish I'd have had that. I've always been confident, but I wish I had this part. It was like kind of I don't know. It's a change, but it's also a peace. Like I feel a peace, right? Like I feel like everything's not life or death all the time. I feel like every decision is not, oh my gosh, if this doesn't happen. I feel like it's happening in its time. I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like I have a lot more roadway left. That's kind of cool.
That is really cool. And the fact is, even chronologically, we have 40 or 50 years left. So we truly are like, what are we going to do? Sit down and not do anything we're going to have another whole career and 2 and 3, right? It's amazing.
It's why I get so mad when I see those commercials on television. That's like, I don't know, whatever it's for, vitamins or older people. And it's like 2 older people, like, in the park, just staring. I was like, that's not, I have those days sometimes, but it's not always those days. I have an 84-year-old father who's like, he's kicking butt right now. He's cooking his own meals every night. He makes gourmet meals. He's videoing them. It's like, it's amazing. We just took him to Spain. So, this is, if you feel afraid of 50 or 40, I think you and I are here to tell people like there's nothing to fear. Trust me.
Nothing. I saw your trip with your father to Spain. That looked amazing.
Thank you. He was so sweet. He was the one that wanted to go out and party every night. My husband and I are like, we need a nap.
my gosh, I love that. Well, my 85-year-old parents live in the house with us. Bless my husband's heart. We are a big one.
Oh, he's great. That's great.
These people have lives of their own. It just gives us hope, right? It's amazing.
I love it. I'm always like, what are you doing? And my dad goes, you don't need to call me and check on me. And I said, okay. So, he's got his thing going, and he doesn't want to be treated like that either. And I love it. He does not want to be treated like he's old. He does not think he's old. He doesn't think he's 80, 84, going to be 85. He doesn't think like that. And it's a pretty beautiful thing.
You know what my mother said, Tamsen? What do you think of this? She's 85. She used to be as tall as me. Now she's not as tall as me. But my mother is as or more brilliant than I am. She has done so many hard things in her life. And she's a beautiful woman. But, people, because she's old, say that she's cute. And you know what she said to me? She's like, people are only calling me cute because I'm old. Because she, in her mind, is brilliant,
right.
Beautiful, and capable, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'll tell you, when we're 97, please do not call me cute, Tamsen.
You have my promise to you right here and now. We will pull this up when we're 97. And I'll be like, I told you, Vonda, I was never going to call you cute. I was going to call you sexy.
Oh, how about that? We'll take that. We'll take that. So listen, you did a huge career pivot. You used all your skills as a curious mind, and you wrote this book, How to Menopause, which is coming out in March. But before that happens, we are going to be treated to an hour-long documentary, October 17th, called The M Factor. Now, it is no small thing to think, I'm going to figure out my own menopause. I'm going to interview all these experts and think about it. Then to get the partners for production, to put together the storyboards. This is not what I do, but I'm thinking that's what happens.
You're right.
How did you put together a movie? Tell me what it's going to be about, because I can't wait.
Oh, thank you so much. It was important. It's interesting from where it started to where it ended. Were very different times. My partner and I, she came from the Today Show, and she had left the Today Show. She had produced for Hoda and Jenna for a long time, and she had left the Today Show. And then a mutual friend of ours was on the phone with both of us separately and said, "The two of you keep talking about menopause. I'm so tired of hearing about it. I'm going to introduce you both." And that, I swear, is what happened. She introduced us, and I actually found the original phone call I had with her, like the time slot. It was like, talk to Joanne LaMarca, and here's her number. And we talked for an hour and a half. And by the end of the conversation, it started real proper. And by the end of the conversation, it was like, here's where I wear my patch. I was like telling her about estrogen. And so we set out, and it was middle of 2021, so 3 years ago now, a little over 3 years ago. We went out to Times Square, and I said, I think we need to find out what people, we said, like, we've got to show the story, do some stories. We don't know what it's going to look like. Is it going to be on YouTube? Is it going to be on social media? Whatever it is, we should share people's stories. And so we went out to Times Square. People still had masks on. And we were like, can you take down your mask and tell us what you think menopause is? I mean, that's literally where it started. Fast forward to, we started talking to different doctors that have been some of the big voices in the space. And we said, you know what, this is larger than doing an MOS out on the street. We need to tell real women's stories and really, figure out what we need to tell, and everyone needs to see themselves represented in this. And so we partnered with two incredibly experienced documentarians on the West Coast, and the four of us, four women, got together and hustled, worked hard, did funding, did a lot of our own funding for the documentary. And then we started going out and doing interviews with doctors. We went coast to coast, so we hit all different areas of the country. We talked to real women, and we put it together, and PBS is going to be airing it starting October 17th. And then it'll also be on pbs.org. And we set out a call saying, like, listen, if you want to do a watch party on the 17th, we'd love to have you do a watch party wherever you are. If you'd like to host a screening in your community, let us know, and we'll send over, what you need to do. And we've had close to 1,000 people reaching out, like from different cities, 1,000 cities reaching out, and people all across the world, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, South Africa. So we have had, we're just so shocked by it, but what it is the need for this conversation. It made it really clear that this conversation this is not a film, but there's a movement going on, that we are part of a movement to help educate. And that was what the goal was, is to educate women, to educate doctors that feel like they don't get the information, so that people walk out saying, I don't know everything, but I know something to help me get better starting tomorrow. And that's what was really the intent of it.
You know what? I just can't wait for so many reasons. Just because it's a celebration, because women need it. But I'm every Monday and Thursday when I see patients, Tamsen, and I'm a whole person orthopedic surgeon. You come in about your knee, we're going to end up talking about your hormones. I can't tell you how many women look at me with a blank stare when I say, you're 45, it sounds like you're in perimenopause. And depending on their reaction, I have to ask them, have you ever heard of that word? Or if they're older, are you in menopause? I say to them, you're 56, you're in menopause, this is blah, blah, blah. So many women still have never heard it. I mean, you and I talk about it so much, I just assume everybody knows, but nobody.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, and I'm grateful for doctors like yourself who didn't go to school specifically to study. That's not what you went to do. Oh. And now the pressure is on you to help spread this word, because there's so many doctors that don't know. So that's why I'm always so grateful to elevate the platform to those who do and want to get out and talk about it, because we need that. We need your expertise and your voice, and we need you to identify the areas that we don't think are menopause, right? We think of hot flashes, we think of lack of sleep. We didn't talk about bones before. We didn't talk about teeth before. Those were not part of the conversation. And so we tried to make sure, in that amount of time we were telling you can't do everything. So we had to go over the basics of it. But we had to go into things like workplace. We had to go into things like race. We had to go into things like hormone therapy and mindset, and understanding that you're not alone, and understanding you're not crazy, and sitting down with doctors to explain these things that are all part of this conversation, because you can't put any of those things in silos. How women are treated in a doctor's office, how women are dismissed, how they're gaslit, how doctors not like you are saying like, I don't know, good luck. And so I feel like there is so much more to say on the topic, but we had to at least get out there and have some of that conversation, because we have to shatter that silence. And when we were talking about, what is the end factor? And I said, it encompasses everything. It's not just menopause. Like, there's a lot to this conversation.
It's biopsychosocial, it's political, it's, just like estrogen receptors are ubiquitous, they're on every tissue. This affects all aspects of the way people live. You know what you have to do. There are 8 Harry Potters. There might be M1, M2, M3. You never know.
I am ready. It's funny. I was talking to my partner about it, and I was like, well, what's next, right? And she's like, I do. Can we just get through October 17th? And I was like, yeah, but okay. But you already know. I have my notes ready to go for I love interviews. I love storytelling. So anyway, we are, yes, yes, and yes.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So it's a little hard for me to believe that less than a year ago, we sat around a table, the 8 of us.
I know.
Before.
And not even a year ago.
Well, because I don't even know, because I
feel like I've known you for like ever.
No, our reach has become exponential, and thank goodness. And I always explain it, because people wonder, they're like, what's an orthopod? I said, listen, the need is so great. It's flattering to think that our communities are so big, but I think you would join me in saying, I think part of it is not because we show up in our bathrobes, but because the need is so great.
100%. I'm telling you, Vonda, I am stunned by the outreach for this, and people that want to share the message, and want to do it any way they can. They're like, our mutual friend, Dr. Kelly Casperson, is renting out a theater for 1,000 people in her hometown to screen this. It's like, it gives me chills. And I'm sitting in the sun. It's mind boggling. And so I'm so grateful. It's like, I can't even, you don't even know how to say thank you enough, but then I also know that for every one person that sits in that theater, they're going to tell 10 more people and 10 more people and 20 more people and a daughter and a sister and a mother. And that's where we start to win. That's where we start to see that groundswell. That's where we start to like get our voices out there so we can get the help we need. So you don't have people walking into your office. So in the time you have, you're now, under the pressure to explain everything that's going on because they've never heard the word before. So that's where I feel like we're all kind of linked. Like we all need each other. Yeah, like I couldn't do this without you, and I don't know. I feel like I see it happening, and I'm excited by it. And I've never felt like this before about any story. It's kind of this untold story that I didn't know existed. I don't think any of us really knew how badly it needed to be told.
I didn't know. It's funny to find a tribe of people, a tribe of women that aren't orthopedic surgeons, but this is my tribe. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You have just called a nation of, get this, you probably already thought of this, of ambassadors.
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 I love you. That's what we need, though, because it is, it's who we are, and it's what everybody wants to do, and they're just doing an incredible job with it. It's like, I don't know. I sat on a phone call today earlier before we jumped on, and it was women that want to do screenings, and they're just like, how fast can we do it? How fast can we get the word out? When and they want the help, and that's the whole key. That as soon as somebody wants the help, we're halfway there. And so that's kind of the cool part. And, I hope it makes your job easier. I hope that people start to understand how important bone health is. I hope they start to understand what a big part estrogen plays in that. And, and how that can't be left until like, oh, it's too hard to fix.
Well, and that is a huge message for me at all times, but especially in the next year.
I know. Well, I'm here for you because you have a book coming out too that is going to be plastered all over my social feed. So get ready.
Thank you so much. So I'm so pleased that you joined me for the 100th episode of Hot for Your Health.
Happy.
Yep. And your movie, The M Factor, October 17th. Everybody go catch it on PBS or at a screening near you. I'm going to really work on something for that for our November conference.
I would love it. Just tell me. And we'll figure it out.
We will. And then once you've seen the movie, then pre-order the book, The How to Menopause, expert-driven, girlfriend-vetted, girlfriend-guided. And I can't wait to see you in New York next time.
Me too. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Vonda Wright. See you next week.